Emil Kadlec here with footballdiehards.com. Week 14 of the NFL season. The line of scrimmage, cash game, and some GPP. We've got ourselves the scholar, John Laub. How you doing, John?
I was doing very good today until about 2 hours, 3 hours ago, I heard that both Darrell Henderson and Elijah Moore are not playing this week. I have them in my dynasty leagues, and I actually have them on a playoff team. So I'm scrambling to find some replacements. Reworking. There's some value that has opened up.
Yeah.
So, getting ready, though. Been working all day. Got some good information for our viewers tonight to help build better DFS lineups.
Fantastic. And, of course, Elijah Moore is put on the injury, whatever it's called, injury reserve. And that's 3 weeks. So that's eating up 14, 15, 16. That's kind of getting up there.
And I wonder why would you bring him back if the team has 2 wins or, they're really keep him ready for next year. I don't know. So I'm worried. I don't think we're going to see him for a fantasy regular season league. I'm skeptical.
I see what you're saying. All right, let's start with the sleepers.
All right, every week, all year long, we like to give you 4 players who you may be overlooking. They're not high ownership, and they're in pretty good position to succeed. The first one this week, I'm really interested in Julio Jones, Emil, because we know Julio Jones was brought off the injury list. We've seen some clips. I've seen some clips of him practicing. So I'm excited about Julio Jones. And then as I started thinking about it, I'm like, if I like Julio Jones, why do I not like Ryan Tannehill here? I said, if Julio Jones is going to play well, there's no question in my mind that Ryan Tannehill's getting him the football. We know he was more successful earlier in the year with Derrick Henry. That makes sense. They get more first downs, more plays, more offensive production. But then he lost A.J. Brown. So there hasn't been a lot of weapons for Tannehill here. But last week, Dante Foreman and Dontrell Hilliard both played well for the Titans in the backfield. Neither one are on par with Derrick Henry. But there was production at the running back spot. Now you add Julio Jones here. And Emil, how bad is the news all week out of Jacksonville?
Yikes.
Yikes. The team seems really fed up with the head coach, Myers.
That's just the weirdest thing in the world.
It is. Hey, Emil, you and I have been around a long time. Coaching NFL players is far different than coaching college young men. And you can do things in college football that you can't get away with in the pros. So it's a whole different game. And I look at this roster, I say this is a spot where the Titans need to get healthy. They have big playoff ambitions. Obviously losing Henry is a problem. But, Vrabel and this team and those veterans are not just going to lay down. They're still 8-4. They got a good shot at the playoff, maybe a home game, and then who knows after that how anything could roll in the AFC.
Well, 8-4 is not a bad record.
No. So they're still in good shape. I love Tannehill here. Emil, last time we saw him against New England, look, at New England just Belichick them, right? That's what Belichick does. He had a poor game. Now, we can go back to some weeks where Tannehill, 23 points against Indianapolis, 21 points against Kansas City, 23 points against Indianapolis again. Lots of double digits, 16, 18, 15. We know Tannehill is a pretty good runner. He's underrated. For the season, he has 5 rushing touchdowns and 196 yards rushing. So I like the floor. If he gets 20 yards rushing and crosses the goal line on the ground, I like it. I think Tannehill's in a good spot, Emil. 6% owned. He's home against a team that looks like it's just about ready to have a revolt against its coach, from the coaching staff to the players. I like Tannehill here. He's vastly underrated. If you need a quarterback, put him in your lineup. I think he has 24-point upside, and I think he has a nice floor of 14 to 15. I like him here. Lots of value opened up. Last week, Emil, we had told people about Sony Michel. We didn't know Saturday night if for sure, that Darrell Henderson was out. And we had told our viewers, we're going to watch that news closely. It was announced in reasonable amount of time Henderson was not playing. And lots of people, astute viewers, astute DFS players, put Sony Michel in their lineups, and he smashed. Here again, we have opportunity on two teams. The Lions are just decimated in the backfield, Emil. Yeah. They just keep going down. And the 49ers are basically in the same boat. We have news today that it looks like the 49ers are going Jeffrey Wilson is there. I'm just going blank for half a second here. Elijah Mitchell's out. You have Trey Sermon's on IR. Raheem Mostert's on IR. Jeff Wilson, when we saw Jeff Wilson a couple weeks ago against Jacksonville, ironically, we were just talking about that, Jeff Wilson only had 50 yards on 19 carries. The week before, he had 28 yards on 10 carries. I have zero confidence in Jeff Wilson. What I do have confidence in is Shanahan, the offensive line, and the scheme. He's going to run the ball. It doesn't matter who's back there. I've been a Bronco fan, been watching the Shanahans, his father, Mike, been watching them for decades now. They're going to run the ball. JaMycal Hasty is the best runner right now that we've seen in the backfield. Now, I had watched him a lot at Baylor. He's a little undersized, but the 49ers have had success with undersized backs in this system. It's a one-cut-and-go system. They're going to block up, and the running back's got to hit the hole. This is DFS. We're looking for 1 week. It's not a great matchup against Cincinnati, but San Francisco is and should be able to run the football here. I think Hasty gets the most touches, and what I like is he is a good pass catcher, Emil. He's been targeted 18 times this year for 13 receptions. Now, he hasn't scored one touchdown on the ground, none receiving. I think JaMycal Hasty gets in the end zone this week for the 49ers. He's bare minimum. He's 4,000. Now, I would never put a lineup. I wouldn't have that in a cash game. Hasty and Jermar Jefferson. I would choose one. I tend to bank on the team in the system. Hasty's in a better situation to excel. Now, Jermar Jefferson's also very interesting here. Denver has not been great against the run. And I'm looking at in the last couple weeks, last 3 weeks actually. I got to hit the right screen here. Denver is surrendering the last 3 weeks almost 24 points per game to opposing running backs. And for the season, they've not played well against opposing running backs. I love Jermar Jefferson coming out of Oregon State. Obviously, the NFL did not like him as much as I did. But we have seen glimpses. Against Philadelphia, he had 12.9 DraftKings points. 4 targets. He ended up with 4 receptions. And then he scored against Pittsburgh, and he had 10.1 points. So we had a little flurry there in weeks 8 and 10, where Jermar Jefferson showed that this young man does have some NFL ability. If you've been watching the Detroit offensive line and you look at those rankings and how people grade offensive lines, Detroit's offensive line is pretty good, Emil. It's not terrible. So Detroit's front 5 against Denver's front 7, I like this here. I don't think you're going to go into Denver and have Jared Goff throw the ball 40 times, Emil. I think you're going to run the ball. We're getting a bare minimum runner. I know there is concern, but my job for our viewers is to make decisions. And right now in my lineups, I have Jermar Jefferson, unless I hear otherwise. But Jefferson, I expect to get the most snaps and the most touches. He is an explosive runner. He can score from beyond the 30 if the lane opens up and he gets to the outside. So I like Jefferson here. He's bare minimum. Now, when I looked this morning, Emil, he was 0% owned. He's up to 2%. So I do expect those numbers to climb a little bit. And we had hinted at it. Elijah Moore is now on IR. Well, yep. Jamison Crowder is back, Emil. Jamison Crowder is such an underrated player.
Yes.
He's not at the top of the depth chart when they've had Corey Davis, Elijah Moore. Obviously, Crowder isn't going to be the man peppered with all of the targets. However, right now, he's the best wide receiver in New York. They're home underdogs against the Saints. And there's one area you attack the Saints defense, Emil, in the slot. You attack New Orleans in the slot. Jamison Crowder is a very good slot receiver. He's actually excellent. Look, in the last 3 games, 16.5 against Miami. Now, against Houston, it's weird, 1.5 points. But then last week against the Eagles, 10.2 points. He also had a big game earlier in there against the Bengals. He had 17.4 points. Game script says the Jets are going to be playing from behind. They're going to be throwing in the fourth quarter. And I know people were probably not watching the Jets last week against the Eagles. But Zach Wilson played his best game of the year. And I don't just mean from a fantasy standpoint. He scored his most fantasy points with 22. He played a good football game.
That's good.
Maybe sitting on the bench, maybe listening, maybe watching film, maybe learning from Mike White, Joe Flacco. Maybe this young man has turned a rookie corner. So I'll take Zach Wilson here to be at least efficient. He doesn't have to be great. Looking for efficiency with his throws in a game script that says New York's playing from behind. I like Crowder here. He's only 3% owned, and he's only 4,700, Emil. And those are my 4 sleepers this week.
Oh, by the way, you got Elijah Moore gone. You've got Corey Davis on IR too. So Crowder. It's a default situation. You got Keelan Cole and Braxton Burrows. Anyway, Crowder's definitely in a good position. So
yes. Now, Emil, did you get to put those in our optimizer?
Yeah, I did. So we've got Tannehill, Hasty, Crowder, and Jefferson for Detroit. So it gives us Mixon at running back, Adams for Detroit, Guyton, who's going to be playing a lot for the Chargers.
Yeah,
and it's got Kelsey at the tight end and a Green Bay defense as the first lineup of many. Not bad.
Excellent.
Not bad.
So they wanted to pay up for the tight end position,
on this particular lineup, as we can say.
Yeah.
Kelsey's in a lot of these. Eckler's in the 4th one. You'll have to run these as our customers will go run them and tinker around with them. But you're picking
Absolutely.
4, so you can still get a lot of mixtures in there. So there's still a lot of room for some really top players.
Excellent.
Now, the question is with Detroit Lions, are they going to have one of those fades after winning a Super Bowl? I mean, winning a game last
year. That it's going to be difficult for Detroit to get back up right on the road in Denver. Denver's a tough place to play with the elevation. But the one thing I will say, the run game travels. And the other thing I'd like to say is, the Lions have not given up. I mean, for a team that's, we've seen them. Somehow the Lions are on TV a lot. We've seen all these fantastic finishes Unfortunately, they've come out on the wrong end of most of them. Yeah. But I'll say this, Emil, they're playing for Matt Campbell. If I'm a Detroit Lions fan, the one thing I don't want as a fan or an owner or anyone in the organization, you hate when you see the team quit. The Lions are fighting. I mean, I give them credit for that. So I do think they can run the ball here.
Yeah, it was quite fun watching Goff hug the coach like they'd won a playoff game. I mean, you can tell the stress and how they really want to get in a positive motion, and it was very important.
Yeah.
And luckily for them, the Rams, one of the defensive backs on the last play of the game, managed to stand 8 yards deep in the end zone. I'm not sure what he was guarding. I guess the goalpost. He was making sure they didn't hit the goalpost or something. What was he doing?
Yeah.
God, I would have been so mad as a teammate and a coach. I don't know what you're doing back there. But anyway, maybe I just don't get it.
Sorry I took a glance away for a second. My daughter wants some money for dinner. So I had to give her a little bit of cash.
I like it. Right in the middle of the show. That's when she gets you at a weak point. Hey, Dad. All right, here we are. The next slide, the Fantastic Four.
Yes. So this week, there are some really tasty games up on the slate. I do want to get involved in Buffalo and Tampa Bay. I think, obviously, and the Raiders and the Chiefs. So I needed to find value so you can build a nice cash game lineup. But I also wanted to give you some pieces in those games. First, when you look at the quarterback position, I'm not going to sit here and tell you if you want Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Tom Brady. All of our viewers are way smarter than they know that those players are in good spots and they're excellent fantasy players. However, I wanted to give you a nice alternative because you do have significant savings in value. He's $1,100 less than Josh Allen. Dak Prescott is $1,300 less than Patrick Mahomes, and he's $900 less than Brady. Also, Dak Prescott's in a great spot here, Emil.
Yes.
They're playing Washington on the road. I think the over-under is 48, if my memory served me well. I've got a quarterback who's been playing great football. He's coming off a bad game against New Orleans. He only scored 12 DraftKings points. So maybe the ownership is only 7%. Maybe they're a little bit concerned with Dak here. But I look back against Vegas on Thanksgiving. He had 28.3 points. Last week against New Orleans when he played, he was 7,100. Now he's 6,700. That's a lot of salary savings. Dak is averaging 21.5 points per game. He has a 23-8 touchdown to interception ratio, 3,170 yards. He's playing great football. Also, I don't know if this Dallas running game. Ezekiel Elliott appears to be injured, but they say he's going to play and he will play. But how good is Zeke going to be? How healthy he's going to be? Tony Pollard isn't going to be in this game. So where's the Dallas running game going? Well, what does that tell me? Dak might have to throw 40 times against the Washington football team. Mm-hmm. So I like Dak a ton. I think he's being overlooked. I don't think people are on him. I mean, as our percentage says, 7% owned. I definitely like that. I think that's a great, great opportunity. And I think this Washington secondary is not very good. And they also, I think Sweat isn't good. Chase Young, we know, is out. I think their other great pass rusher, Sweat is out. They've got injuries on the front four. The Dallas line can pass block. They're very good pass blocking. So I like Dak Prescott here. He's in my Fantastic Four. If you notice, I like this game on both sides. Look at Antonio Gibson. If he didn't have such a bad start to the season, Emil, he would probably be $7,000 or more. We still have some salary savings because of his slow start And people in the algorithm, a lot of it depends on ownership levels. And people stop playing, DFS players had stopped playing Antonio Gibson. So he's only 6,000 for a stud running back. In 3 of the last 4 games, Emil, he has scored over 22 points. 21.8, 8.5, 26.6, 22.1. What I love about him more. Now, we have to worry a little bit about J.D. McKissic. Is he going to play? Obviously for DFS, we would prefer McKissic stayed sidelined.
Yes.
Because in the last 2 weeks, Gibson has had 13 targets out of the backfield and 12 receptions, Emil. A monster in PPR.
Mm-hmm.
But he's their goal line back. Even without McKissic, I do believe that he's going to remain in the game and most likely get the majority of touches. I only think if this game gets out of hand and Washington is losing big, like by 14, 17, then maybe McKissic just is in there the whole fourth quarter. But I think Washington's a good enough football team. Their defense is good enough, not as good as it has been, but I think they can keep themselves in this game at home. So I love Antonio Gibson. I think is another great spot for him. And Josh Jacobs, another player that got off to a slow start, Emil. He wasn't rocking and rolling. I think people have forgotten about him. And early in the year, I'm looking here, right?
Yes.
In weeks 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 17, 11, 17, 15, 16, 13 points. Always good, but not great.
Mm-hmm.
Always good, but not great. Last 2 weeks, 19 and a half, 24 points.
Ooh.
The reason why, what?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, the reason why is he's now their pass catcher. Since Gruden is no longer with the organization, Kenyon Drake is no longer getting as many receptions or snaps. He's also now out. So Kenyon Drake is out. The good, interesting part, Josh Jacobs at Alabama was a very good pass catcher. I graded him high as a receiver. Not as good as Najee Harris. He's not as good as Antonio Gibson. But Josh Jacobs is a good pass catcher. The Raiders are finally using him in that role with no Henry Ruggs, no Darren Waller, no Kenyon Drake. I think Josh Jacobs is in a great spot.
Very tempting. And remember, he was dinged up a little there in the middle of the season, which didn't help either.
So I think all of these have combined for he's only 6,200. He's also in another game that is here to smash with over a projection of over 48 and a half points, I think this game is.
Yeah.
Now, I like it more. The Raiders could fall behind here. That's a problem. But he's now the pass catcher. He's a 3-down back.
Yeah.
He's arguably, without Waller, he's definitely the best player on offense. Even with Waller, we could argue he's their best offensive player. So I think Jacobs is a guaranteed between 17 and 23 touches in this game. I'll take it. And this is an old AFC West. Last time they shot out big time. The score was like crazy.
Yeah.
41-14, Kansas City. I don't know if they're going to score that many again. I think the Raiders should play better here, playing second time around. So I like Josh Jacobs here. And then I needed to find some salary. It opened up at the tight end. I mean, Cleveland has lost so many players at the tight end position. Let me go here to the depth chart. David Njoku, COVID-19. I believe he's now officially out. Harrison Bryant, out. I don't even know. Steven Carlson on the COVID-19 list. I believe he's 100% out. It leaves Austin Hooper remaining, and the Ravens are 30th in the NFL against tight ends for the season, and they haven't been very good recently. We also know they have some injuries in the back in the secondary. I like Hooper here. Look at that, only 5% owned for 3,400.
Why is he only 5% owned? Well, we'll see if that changes come tomorrow morning.
Yes, that definitely could. I mean, when you start looking at tight ends, when I was going through the list, looking at the pricing, you have two choices. You can easily, I get it. You want to pay up for Kelsey or Kittle, and I totally understand. And one of my lineups on footballdiehards.com has Kelsey in it. Or, to me, the other option is to pay down. And when you look at the players, I think Austin Hooper is in the best spot at 3,400 for salary savings. I also did this. You can choose as the viewer what Dallas wide receiver do you want to go with, CeeDee Lamb or Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup. You can still put in a Buffalo Bill in here, Stephon Diggs, Leonard, or you could put in Leonard Fournette, Chris Godwin. So there's enough savings on this Fantastic Four. You can still dip into Buffalo and Tampa Bay. Emil, were you able to run the optimizer on this?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. One of the top lineups has Mixon in and has Devontae Adams in. So, that's a lot of value. And if I go down, here's a curious one here. They put Peoples-Jones in, so you could get Devontae Adams and Eckler as a flex. And those are just the first couple just glancing away, other than what you just said. So, yeah, a lot of value there. A lot of value that you can get. A Kamari in another lineup. We have Kamari and Devontae Adams and that Guyton guy for Los Angeles Chargers, since he's probably going to be playing or starting. That's another interesting lineup. A lot of very interesting lineups with your Fantastic Four here on the optimizer.
And Emil, you said the optimizer kind of likes Donovan Peoples-Jones, because I like him too this week. If you need
one of the lineups, I threw him in one of my lineups. I just ran 10 lineups, and he was in one of them there. But yeah,
I like him.
He's had good weeks, especially considering with all the injuries at tight end. So
yes,
fantastic. No pun intended. All right, let's go to the next slide.
All right, we are here to help you build better DFS lineups on the footballdiehards.com website. We have so many good articles, not only the show you are currently watching, but throughout the week we give you information that just helps you stay on top of all the information for DFS. We have DraftKings Cash Plays and DFS GPP Stacks by Jamie Calandro. That's there every week. I think it's like Wednesday and Thursdays it comes out. We have the Shadow Knows by Gary Davenport, which is wide receiver cornerback matchups. It's an excellent article every week. Bob Harris, the DFS 3 and Out for GPP lineups. I read it every week. It's a must read in my book. Digging in the Crates Daily by Justin Lanero. Absolutely love that. He has more sleepers than the ones that I have on the show, so check that out. If you don't like or don't trust the sleepers I have, we have other ones for you. And then Sunday mornings, DFS Football Die Hard Show with Jason and Jamie. They give you an hour show and they break down all the games.
Fantastic. Yes, going to be a fun week. Now let's go to the final slide.
All right. Our GPP. Last week it didn't work. The Ravens could not get in the end zone. Hey, I go for all or nothing. Obviously, that one didn't work out. I just put the money in the pot, let it burn that week. But I'm coming back. I've already hinted that I am interested very much in this Cowboys-Washington. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you to play Patriots and Bills and Chiefs and Raiders. Everyone knows that. And there are going to be thousands of lineups trying to get contrarian in those games. What I wanted to do is find you a game that I like, that I believe has potential to shoot out, and has undervalued players who are not being thought about a lot. So immediately I said, wait a second, I like this Cowboys-Washington. But I said, Emil, probably everyone's going to be on the Dallas side. And rightfully so. I mean, I'm going to be in on Dallas players. But then I said, Washington's at home. They're only a 4.5-point dog. That's not crazy.
Yeah.
They're going to stay in this game. So what I decided to do is let me look at some values here. I was stunned. First, I can get Taylor Heineke, at 4%. It's a risk, but he has upside. Carolina, 23 DraftKings points. Green Bay, 22 DraftKings points. Atlanta, 28. Buffalo, 23. The Giants, 24. Hasn't been great lately. Last 2 games, 15 and 12. I get it, but that's why we're getting him at 5,500 starting quarterback. 4% owned, Emil.
That's pretty low.
I'm sorry, what?
That is low.
That is low. If Dallas is going to push the football, and if Dallas can, the best thing for this lineup, Dallas goes up 14-0 quick. That'd be amazing. That would force Washington to put the ball in the air. So then I said, I wonder how much his receivers are. Terry McLaurin, a little pricey at 7,000. I was hoping it would come down. But I went back. At one time this year, he was 7,600, weeks 8 and 10. So we have a pretty high ceiling for salary on DraftKings this year. Now, the last 2 weeks, people want to stay away from him, Emil. 5.2 and 9.1. Well, when everyone runs away from a great player, I want to run towards the player. Terry McLaurin hasn't lost a step. Terry McLaurin isn't any less of a football player. The matchups, game script, just the way things have happened in Washington, he has not been great. But the previous week against Carolina, 24.3. Also, if you watch Dallas this year, 1, they're not playing as good of defense recently as they did earlier in the season. 2, all year long, Dallas can be burned on the deep pass. Their cornerbacks are high-risk players.
Yes.
They definitely want the interception. They definitely want the pick 6. But wherever there's risk, there's reward for the other team. Terry McLaurin is good enough on a double move. And Washington's smarter than I am. Their coaching staff is smarter than I am. How do you beat a high-risk cornerback? Put in a double move. Try, now you got to have the defense, the offensive line, has to give you time. But that double move will be there for Terry McLaurin. And you can set up this Dallas secondary for that big double move in the second half. I think McLaurin beats them deep here. I do. I like McLaurin a ton. Only 5% ownership on a player who is averaging 15.5 points per game, 61 receptions for 808 yards and 5 touchdowns against the secondary that can be burned deep. So then I need his salary savings. And you can't really get it at the Cowboys wide receivers. Even Dalton Schultz was a little more pricey. So Logan Thomas isn't playing. Bring in Ricky Seals-Jones again, Abel.
Why not?
Ricky, why not? He had week 6 against Kansas City, 16 points. Week 7 against Green Bay, 11 points. Then he was hurt. We haven't seen him on the field since week 10 against Tampa Bay. But here Ricky Seals-Jones is back in the lineup for Washington. 3,600, 4% owned. I get 2 pieces of that Washington passing game, and I like both of them. Now, the key to this when I was trying to find a GPP lineup, a contrarian lineup, I get Zeke at 5% owned. I get it. He's not likely to do a ton. We've all seen him play. He hasn't had a 20-point week since week 10. And then he had 13, 17, And then against New Orleans, he only had 6.7. But Emil, he was $8,000 on the Thanksgiving Day game against the Raiders.
Ooh.
He's now $7,300. We're getting some salary savings because people have not been taking and placing Zeke in their lineups. And look at that ownership, Emil.
Yes.
5%.
Nothing.
I mean, could Zeke score twice and have 80 yards rushing and 4 receptions for 30 yards? Without question.
Yeah.
And I'm getting them at low ownership in a game I like. And this is a GPP. This is not a cash game. This is a GPP. So I like the upside here for Zeke. And then the player, Amari Cooper. I love CeeDee Lamb. And I put in the Fantastic Four. I put Dak. And I'm going to let our viewers choose between CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper. But for GPP, I wanted to do 2 things. I wanted to save, so I get significant salary savings with Amari, but we have the same upside. Maybe not as likely, but he scored 29 points against Minnesota, and he scored 42 points against Tampa Bay opening week. Amari Cooper's been hurt, and he hasn't been overly productive. So we're getting him at 11% ownership. Look at those wide receivers. Cooper and McLaurin are owned on 11 and 5% of lineups. I love those. Those are nice ownership levels. And, Emil, I like this because you can pick and choose your Chiefs, your Buccaneers, your Bills, and your Raiders. You can squeeze 2 of those probably into these lineups. Were you able to put this into the optimizer, my friend?
Yes, I do. I've gotten the first couple here. It's got Mixon. It's got Guyton for the Chargers. And it's got Javonte Williams for Denver running.
Ooh.
And let's fly down here a couple. It's got Gibson as a flex in 1 with Mixon. It's a lot of running backs there.
Ooh. Yeah.
And Kamara in the 4th lineup. It has Kamara in with Javonte Williams also. So. And of course, you can do. You can do a
they
lot.
They added Kamara to one of these lineups.
One of these lineups, it was able to sneak Kamara in. It has Guyton in as the 3rd receiver, and it has Javonte Williams as the flex. So snuck.
Wow! I like that a lot.
That was right at $50,000 with not a dollar to spare.
Yeah, I like that a lot, my friend.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. Yeah, so you got some room there. You definitely have some room to tinker around.
You know what I was surprised at, Emil? I love looking at the ownership. Friday today, the number 1 running back now is Leonard Fournette at 28%.
Yeah.
He went yesterday when I looked, Fournette was around 14 or 15%.
Ooh.
Now we have him at 28%. I was like, woo! Takes him out of GPP almost in my book.
That's
just
a
cash
big number. That is a big number.
That's a big number.
He's been hot. He's been hot. It's been working for him.
Oh, he's played unbelievable this year.
He's a cash dude. Well, these are some great ones. I can't wait to get these working on these tomorrow morning. I'll probably do it tomorrow morning.
And just remember our viewers, we're still going to have more news. So stay with us on Football Diehards. I always update my lineups every Sunday morning. Last week, Sony Michel went into the sheet, and so did Gardner Minshew. I saw a lot of lineups of Gardner Minshew. We mentioned him last week also. So there's going to probably be value. I think it's JaMychal Hasty and Jermar Jefferson as of Saturday night, but we'll be updating everything in the morning also.
Cool. Yeah, we've had a few things hit for us already, but there's always a few injury situations in the morning, on Sunday morning, that allow you some potential extra players that you can play. So it was fun last week. It was really fun getting some of those guys in those situations, and they hit. They hit well.
Oh, my God. All the cheap players all hit. The good value. Gardner was good. And I actually saw in the cat people who played. Now, I didn't play both. I played one or the other. But there were people who played both Sony Michel and Gardner Minshew. And then they had like Cooper Kupp. They had who else was Jonathan Taylor. Like that value opened up, they went big on the other players, and it really hit.
There were some huge high scores in cash. I played in a 50-50. I scored 143 points and was in 57th place out of 62.
Yeah, no, Emil, I had a team, so it was really weird. My main lineup on the website did 171. I cashed in one 50-50 with 17,000. I was in another 50-50 with 4,000 people, and I didn't cash.
Yeah, it was
That's
close.
how tight. But there, you know what happened? I saw there was more lineup trains. There were like 50 of the same lineup in that one.
Oh, okay, gotcha. That's what happened to mine, because there were some guys at like 200 points. And it's just every once in a while that happens to you.
Oh, no, it happens. There's nothing you can do about it. I mean, look, I'm all right with the lineup train. No one likes to lose to them, but it does happen. And I'll say that when you're in the smaller fields, the lineup trains can hurt you more. When you're at the 17,000, you can still do well. It gets harder in those as the field shrinks.
Yeah.
If you end up, like you said, what did you add, 61 or something in there?
I was 143 points, and I finished 57th out of 62.
So if like 20 people have the same lineup, you're just and it smashes. That's so hard.
You're in big trouble. I have to go back and look at it. I wasn't that clever. Usually, I like to play around 62. Maybe I'll play a larger one, but I'm paying $1, so I don't think there's a lot of big ones for $1.
Yeah, and normally a 144 hits. I mean, that probably hits 9 out of 10. 8.5, 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah, that usually does it for me. But it was a weird week. We'll see what happens this week. Well, fantastic, John. Any other thing you'd like to say? No, just thanks for watching, everyone. We love all the people who watch us every week. Give us a thumbs up and enjoy the football. If you're like me, I got a lot of regular season games tomorrow, some playoffs on the line. So I'm pretty excited for this weekend. Fantastic. Thank you, John. Good luck, everyone.